The suspended Deputy Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya has strongly denied allegations linking him to the so-called Big Five cartel, dismissing the claims as unfounded and politically motivated. Appearing before Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating corruption within South African Police Service, Sibiya challenged the authenticity of the allegations, questioning why no arrest had been made if the cartel truly existed. Stated that the Big Five that is being spoken about is not there, and if it is indeed true that it exists, why are they not being arrested for drugs or for whatever reason it may be? Personally, I'm not involved in the Big Five. I don't know the Big Five. His remarks come amid mounting public pressure and speculation over the existence of an influential criminal network said to have deep ties within law enforcement and politics. Sibiya's superior National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola and KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Ndlela Mkhwanazi have accused him of being entangled in corrupt dealings within SAPS. Masemola, in testimony before the Matlanga Commission, alleged that Sibiya had attempted to seize control of the cold case unit soon after his appointment as Deputy Commissioner. He further accused Sibiya of unilaterally replacing Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo from the political task team, a move Masemola described as an attempt to protect criminals. According to General Masemola, Sibiya's actions were part of a broader pattern aimed at undermining internal oversight and consolidating power within his office. Expanding on these claims, General Khumalo told the Matlanga Commission that alleged cartel figures, including Kati Somolefe and controversial businessman Vusimuzi Matlala, were key members of the Big Five, a group allegedly involved in drug trafficking, tender fraud, contract killings, and cross-border vehicle hijackings. He further alleged that the cartel had extended its influence into politics and that the Big Five has already penetrated the political arena, and there are documented cases linking the group to high-profile political figures. Senior politicians allegedly complicit in the cartel's operation. That was Khumalo testifying on the commission. Sibiya, however, has rejected all allegations, reiterating that there is no credible evidence proving the existence of the so-called Big Five. He also defended his decision to disband the PKTT, insisting that claims of case dockets being abandoned in his office were false and misleading. He further questioned his exclusion from PKTT operations, implying that the move was politically driven to tarnish his reputation. Sibiya further stated that the removal of 121 dockets from the political killings task team had to happen because a decision had been taken to disband the team immediately. At a televised media briefing on July 6, KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Ndlela Mkhwanazi said 121 cases dockets were removed from the task team and handed to Sibiya's office. Mkhwanazi had said that 5 of those dockets already had instructions to arrest the suspects. Sibiya was asked why he took the 121 dockets from the task team and said the decision was taken to disband it immediately, and the political killings task team project manager, Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo, did say that the task team had achieved the purpose for which it was intended, to stabilize and to fight the killings of politicians, traditional leaders and others. They were taken where they needed to be taken to, which is the specialized unit, the murder and robbery units, which is mandated to investigate political killings task team matters. Those political killings that are investigating as a task team, in fact, belong to the murder and robbery unit. The task team are just a separate structure that is running outside the main structure. He said the dockets were now back with the task team. Sibiya also raised concerns about being questioned by the MK Party Member of Parliament, David Skosana, who has previously opened a criminal case against him. Sibiya said he wanted to be protected from Skosana, accusing him of working with Mkhwanazi, and said he is a complainant in my case, and that is the person I'm going to sit with at some point to court. In court, because he is a complainant, him using this platform now to solicit answers from that, I'm going to have to defend before court. To me, it's very serious concern. And said, this is the member that I feel is working with General Mkhwanazi, because the statement that was used by General Mkhwanazi's team to go and open a case, his name, Skosana, is there, Now I must stand before the same member to be cross-examined or to answer questions. Now I'm raising a concern if I can be protected. Sibiya said the Umkhonto weSizwe Party supported Mkhwanazi. However, Committee Chairperson Sophie Tlhaganyane allowed Skhosana to ask questions. The suspended Deputy Commissioner also said that he has never been a rogue officer in his career in the SAPS. Sibiya started his career in SAPS at the age of 20 as a student constable. He gained experience in various roles, including leading the Hawks and now serving as the Deputy National Police Commissioner since 2022. His career has been marked by controversies. In 2015, he was suspended over allegations of illegal rendition of Zimbabweans, and this year he was suspended due to allegations of interfering with the political killings task team. Despite the accusations, he says he has never been on the wrong side of the law, claiming he is being targeted. He said, "I've never been a rogue officer in my 37 years in the police. I deny the allegations." The committee is investigating allegations of corruption in the criminal justice system made by the KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Sibiya is accused of having ties with controversial businessman Brown Mokgotsi and security company owner Vusimuzi Cap Matlala, who is allegedly linked to organized crime. Asked how he met the two, Sibiya said Mokgotsi first contacted him to make him aware of tender-related corruption in the Northwest. He said their relationship was strictly that, and no SAPS matters were discussed. They only met once or twice, and he wasn't worried about receiving information from someone who is not in the SAPS. He said, "What concerned me is that he was telling me things I know. I can't be worried about someone telling me information that says, look over your back. I used the information to my advantage to survive." With regards to Matlala, he said he only knew him as a service provider for the SAPS who was awarded a healthcare contract.
Finally, South Africans can get to hear the truth. And allow me, Chair, to deal with this Senzo Meyiwa issue. When Senzo Meyiwa, after Senzo Meyiwa was killed, I was the head of the Hawks in Gauteng. I was at home in Pretoria. I got a call from the acting provincial commissioner, who was General Musikiri at that time. I was at home at night. I didn't even know about the shooting. And it was around about 11 at night. And remember, Senzo was killed after 7:30, around about 7:30, early evening. And what I had to do as the head of the Hawks was to call a team to say, let's meet there. It's just like when a serious crime has been committed, we move, we go there. And what happened there is that as we moved, all of us, we got there. I ran straight to hospital. And simply because of the fact Senzo Meyiwa is a national key point. It's a national asset. It's not ordinary member where someone can say someone has been gunned out, then as the head of the house, I'll also go there. But because it was a national goalkeeper, we all had to react, and we went. Even General Musikiri, who was the acting provincial commissioner, we all went and we met at the police station, at the hospital. When I got to the hospital, it was packed, even in the passage, even in the ward where he was lying motionless. And everybody was crying there. Even myself, I could not make my way through into the ward. I saw him lying inside there, but from outside the ward. And then I realized that it won't work. I then said to General Musikiri, I will go to the house where now the investigation must start, because now the investigation process had to start. Now, for the investigation process to start, we then had to go to the scene of crime. When we get to the house where it happened, it was packed. Outside the yard, inside the yard, there was up and down movement in the house. I'm well trained when it comes to investigations. I'm 37 years doing what I'm doing. The very first thing is to take charge of the scene of crime. Mine was to give instructions and say, please, secure the scene, preserve the scene. This is a scene of crime. Now, the team had to make sure that they remove everybody on site to outside the yard so that it can be cordoned. The scene of crime can be cordoned Remember, I arrived late at night when this thing happened almost after 7:30, and the scene was already processed by the officials. It was processed, cleaned. The experts have done their work. Now, when I arrived there, I also found MEC Sizakele Nkosi Malobane and other generals were there. Now, ours, we come here as a fact-finding team. We come in here, we knock, we sit down in the sitting room. It's clean, there's no blood, there's no spotty that you can see, everything is in place. And then we sit, we listen, we ask questions, what happened? This one explained, this one explained, this one explained, this one explained. This is the normal course of attending to crime scene. The MEC was there also, we were all listening. And then from there, General Musigiri and them arrived from hospital to join us.
What's the take on this one, people? Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more news.